Good. Let's scoot down a little bit. Yeah. How you doing, Mike? Do we have everybody, Brian?
We do, yeah.
You notice I wouldn't start until you gave me the high sign.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, everyone. This weekend, as weekend is approaching, in fact, it's now upon us, many folks in our community will have a first opportunity to go and assess their personal property and the damage from the storm. In a lot of cases, we recognize that that's going to be a very big job in terms of the cleanup and recovery from this devastation to the community. We are going to continue with our theme of neighbors helping each other. Neighbors helping neighbors is a key to success in times of crisis. With temperatures going down well below freezing again and dipping very close to zero with the wind chill factor, it's even more incumbent upon us to check with each other and make sure that that those around us are being taken care of. So as the weekend approaches and as we go the next couple of days, again, let's stress checking our neighbors, neighbors helping neighbors is a theme that will get us through this crisis. Over the next few minutes, you'll be updated on resources, announcing some of our community outreach efforts that are going to be launched today and in the days to come, and a continuation of the reminder of personal safety, because after all, safety is our number one priority. One of the resources that is in our community has come to us, again, at times of crisis, is a Duracell battery truck. And we appreciate that. They are providing batteries and a mobile charging station for those in our community. In fact, for the media, the truck is outside, I believe, and we'll be there for an opportunity to take a look at what they offer at times of crisis. I'd like to turn over the microphone to Mayor David Condon, and thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'd like to first thank the countless members of our community who already have stepped forward to help their friends and their neighbors. Your compassion in helping the community through restoration and cleanup process is critical as we move forward and is keeping us inland strong. Volunteers have begun to go door to door today to check those who have been most impacted by the storm and the cold weather. Groups of city employees, Avista employees, police officers, fire department employees, and other community volunteers have started this work today and are canvassing some of our hardest hit neighborhoods. We're providing information and connection to resources. Our goal is to expand that effort over the weekend. We are looking for volunteers on Saturday and Sunday to begin at 9 a.m. If you're willing and comfortable with volunteering, please visit volunteerspokane.org. Again, that's simply volunteerspokane.org. The website will list volunteer opportunities, needs, and locations, and a phone number also. For those without connectivity, you can also contact by phone 211 to be connected to volunteer opportunities. Or if you just want to show up, we're working to finalize the list of gathering locations, but today we are training volunteers at our West Central Community Center and our East Central Community Center starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All three of our community centers will be open over the weekend to service the neighborhoods in those areas. Additionally, today, please keep in mind personal safety. Be mindful of your property. Police Chief Rick DeBro will have more in a moment on this issue. We also want to remind everyone that we may be clearing storm debris this weekend, that the city's Spokane Northside landfill and our waste-to-energy plants are both accepting large debris for free. Over the past 2 days, those locations have accepted over 306 tons of debris. Smaller debris can be placed into the clean green bins for regular pickup, and that will continue through December 18th. Your perishable food items, unfortunately, which is a reality, can be disposed in your clean green bins once the packaging has been removed. Please be sure you carefully inspect your property to make sure it's safe to remove the storm debris. Finally, I'd like to again say thank you to the broader Inland Northwest community. Your resilience, your compassion, and your patience continues to impress us all, and we remain inland strong. With that, I'll turn it over to the Spokane Valley, and after that, Scott Morris.
Good afternoon, Mike Jackson, City Manager for the City of Spokane Valley. First of all, I'd like to thank the Red Cross Shelter and the Valley Assembly of God Church in Spokane Valley for providing shelter to our citizens of need. And the Red Cross does have additional capacity at that shelter, so we urge anyone needing warmth and food to seek that shelter out. The City of Spokane Valley Public Works Department continues to remove trees from the damage. We've had upwards of 80 calls from our citizens along with trees that the city has identified ourselves. As of 1:30 this afternoon, over 60 of those trees have been removed. By the end of the day today, all of the trees that are not entangled in electrical wires will have been moved from the city roadways by the City of Spokane Valley. We have been working to reinstall, along with Spokane County, whom we contract with, all of our critical traffic signs, and the vast majority of those signs on arterials have been replaced. Currently, we have only 4 traffic signals that are still out related to lack of electrical power. Those are at Trent and Evergreen, University and 8th Avenue, Argonne and Knox, and Broadway and Fancher. So we ask our motorists to use extra care. Spokane Valley's community and economic development inspectors are proactively canvassing the community to identify damage associated with the windstorm. The Permit Center will be assisting the community in applying for informational permits that may be required as part of the property owner's insurance claims. These information-only permits will not be assessed a fee, and subsequent inspectors will be performed at no charge by the building inspectors. The Spokane Valley University Road Transfer Station has brought on extra staffing and extra equipment to accommodate the need for handling yard waste and clean green. They will accept all sizes of downed branches and debris and trees, and the hours are 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week. We have additional updates and information at our website, of course, and we also have a news feed. We encourage all of our citizens to subscribe to that news feed, and we also think this is a great time to encourage everyone to enroll their cell phones in the reverse 911 system. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Scott Morris, Chairman and President of Avista.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Again, I would just like to thank our customers for their patience and perseverance as we work our way through the most devastating storm that we've experienced in 126 years. I also want to thank the county, the city of Spokane, the city of Spokane Valley, the many cities and communities that we serve outside of Spokane for their diligence and their work and their cooperation with us. We couldn't be doing all of this great work without them. They've been fantastic. And again, the work that they're doing now to go door to door to check on the neighbor versus neighbor program, it is just, again, a great way that we just see what our cities and counties do to support their citizens. I want to do a couple things for you this afternoon. I want to give you an update on kind of where we are with crews and progress we've made, but then I do have a map here and I want to go through our plan of restoration over the next 3 to 4 days to make sure that you're clear on kind of how we want to go about that. So today has been an encouraging day. We've at this hour, we've restored about 110,000 customers out of the nearly 180,000 customers that were out of power at the peak of the storm. We've restored about over 60% of those customers now do have power to their homes. Remember, this is a unique storm. Because of the wind, we had to rebuild, in essence, the engine of our system, our transmission lines and our substations that were put out of power, and it took us a good 36 hours to get the engine rebuilt. Most of the time, we would have had those crews out in the distribution, out in the neighborhoods, repairing service, but we had to have our crews get in essence, the engine running first before we could deploy crews. We're now focusing on what we would call the most critical trunk line feeders in the community. And then we're going to shift our focus to what I would call getting the most bang for our buck, where we can get large numbers of customers up in neighborhoods. The good news is we've got a lot of crews here. You might have seen that the crews that did arrive from San Francisco, 12 crews came from the Pacific Gas and Electric Service Territory in San Francisco. 2 came from Reno. And let me give you an update. We got some good news. They're buttoning up the windstorm damage in the Seattle area. So by 10 o'clock tonight, now not all of those crews will be out on the street at 10 because some of them have to rest. Remember, our linemen are true heroes. They would work as many hours as we would ask them to work. But for safety's sake, you know, they would work until they couldn't work anymore. But we asked them to work 16-hour shifts. We asked them to go home for an 8-hour rest, then have them come back. The work gets very dangerous. It's dark. It's cold. Safety has to be our priority. So just know when I give these crew numbers, they're not always right there at the time because we are shifting and rotating crews depending on rest periods and safety. But Puget Sound Energy in the Seattle area is on their way sending 20 more crews, which should be here by 3 o'clock this afternoon. I mentioned the 12 crews from Pacific Gas and Electric for 12. Chelan County PUD sent 1. The Bonneville Power Administration gave us 3. Nevada Energy 2. Grant County sent us 1. And we also currently have, should have on site by tonight, 30 contract crews. So by 10 o'clock tonight, we should have 97 construction crews, counting our own 28 in-house crews, should be in the Spokane area restoring service to our customers. In addition to that, remember, this storm just didn't hit Spokane. It devastated us across our 30,000 mile service territory. We've had over 700 miles of line that we have to have eyes on. The good news there too is that our crews outside of Spokane have done their typical tremendous work. We're looking like in places like Whitman County, Stevens County, already and down in the Lewiston, Clarkston, or Rufino area, those outages are being wrapped up. So those company and contract crews that have been out restoring service to our outlying areas should be done by tonight and early morning. So in addition to those 97, we should be getting at least another 10 to 15 crews from the outside areas as they finish up the work restoring services in places like Davenport, Colville, Kellogg, Coeur d'Alene will be rolling into Spokane as well. So by Saturday and Sunday, there will be a lot of crews on the ground here in Spokane. Let me talk a little bit about how we prioritized. We did prioritize, again, the engine. We've been looking at and working on what we would call the most critical infrastructure for our customers. Those include things like water and sewer pumping stations, hospitals, fire and police stations, as well as senior living places. Those have been absolutely critical. Schools. Some of those trunk line feeders aren't the most populated of our feeders. They don't have the most customers on them, but they're actually critical for services. So as you look online, you might be saying, well, wait a minute, you know, they still have 70,000. Why aren't they moving faster? Well, it's because some of those critical infrastructure to get those pumps going and others don't have as many customers, but we have to get those on first. So similar to kind of rebuilding the engine of the transmission line, we're taking care of the critical infrastructure in Spokane. We should have most of that done by tonight, so that the crews then can really focus on getting service up for the rest of our customers. Let me just talk a little bit also just as an example about making sure that we take care of our elderly and most vulnerable. Yesterday, we made a decision that we weren't sure how many senior centers had power. So we got on the phone and called we made contact with 75 senior centers in the Spokane area, 25 in Idaho, to find out if they had power. If they didn't, how do we roll trucks to get those on? Not the most efficient use of our crews, but the absolute critical right thing to do. Most of them did have power. A lot of them did not. We were able to get service for them. But there were about 7 or 8 senior centers that did not have power. But working with partners like the city who were amazing, giving us some of their electric generators. We went out with our electricians who normally work at our substations and generation facilities. We installed generators on those those senior living centers. So for example, this morning, the last one, Touchmark, was able to go on, and because the city gave us one of their very largest generators, we have that senior center now at least with a generator so those people can be warm. And again, I want to thank the mayor and the city for helping us. They had to do a lot of rearranging to make that happen. This is really a team effort. So right now there's 40 main service trunk feeders that need to be repaired. 30 of those are, have a lot of top priority critical customers. Today on this map, we're focusing on 11 critical feeders, and after this you can come up and see, you will see they're in blue. The ones that are in dark blue are the feeders that we're working on today. The green are areas in Spokane that have power. The ones that are kind of the red are the areas that are still without power. So those 97 crews that I spoke to you about that will be on here tonight, they will then start on those areas tonight and tomorrow and Sunday to start reestablishing service in the rest. We will continue to prioritize criticality around human and health, pumping stations, fire and police. But again, we should have most of those up. So by tomorrow, a lot of those areas, we will look and say, okay, this particular trunk line serves 3,000 customers. Let's go get that one because we can get 3,000 customers up. We might have to make a decision that this feeder over here, most of the customers up, but there's only 50 left. We might have to let that one sit maybe for a little bit while we can go get the biggest bang for our bucks. But at the end of the day, we're making those priorities and those choices so that, again, hopefully, as we said, 3 to 5 days from Wednesday, because remember the wind blew, we couldn't do any work on Tuesday night and really into Wednesday morning. So we're really talking about a Saturday, Sunday, Monday restoration to get people back on. I know you guys will have more questions for me, so I think I will stop there and be happy to answer any questions afterwards. And I'll turn it over to my friend at Inland Power.
Thank you. My name is Glenn Best. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Inland Power and Light. It's great to be here this afternoon. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of our Inland Power and Light cooperative members for your patience as we work through this horrific wind event that we've had. Like Avista, Inland is struggling to keep up with the amount of trees that are down and power lines down. But again, thank you for the patience of our membership. We serve our members, and without them, it wouldn't be possible with that patience and helping us out. And thank you for all the support to our line crews. I know so many of you are out there bringing them coffee and treats and things like that, and just thanking them. It's always nice to hear thank you for what you're doing. We really are doing everything we can to get the power back on. Also, just want to really reiterate safety first, please. Down power lines are not something to fool around with. If you see down power lines, don't go near them. Don't try to remove them. Call Inland Power and Light. Let us know where those are, and we'll make sure to take care of those as quick as possible to safe up the site. Inland Power and Light, unlike Avista, is a little bit smaller. We have 40,000 members. Currently, 10,000 of our members are still without power, scattered throughout our region where we serve 13 counties in the area. Lincoln County and Whitman County and our southern areas, as well as our western areas, are pretty much wrapped up. We have spotty outages out there, and we'll be taking care of those as quick as we can. The bulk of our outages are in the upper Spokane County, as well as out in the valley, out towards Newman Lake, up in the Green Bluff area as we kind of move up towards the Bigelow Road area. So we're working on those. We have all of our crews working around the clock to restore power. We also, now these numbers aren't going to be as impressive as Avista's, but we also have 8 contract crews working with our 7 existing line crews, and we have asked 4 new line crews to come in. They'll be coming in later this evening from Milton Free Water, Benton REA, Michael's Power, and Big Bend Electric Cooperative is going to lend their support to us as well. They had some damage they're wrapping up, and as those other utilities are able to free up contractors, they're able to come into our area. Like Avista, like Scott mentioned, we're doing the same thing. We're starting at our substations, working on our trunk lines, our feeders as we call them, restoring as much as the feeder lines as we can, and then coming back and working on our single phase lines that go out. We're mostly rural, so we have a lot of customers that are out in the bush and out in the back roads and out in the county that may not see us for a little while as we are getting those main lines on, and we're going to be coming back. The frustrating thing for a lot of our members is that as we get those trunk lines on, a lot of our customers are fed right off those. They come out of their driveways, they see the customers with power, and they're wondering why theirs isn't on. It's not that we're trying to prioritize people as more important than others. We're just trying to do the same thing. Keep our crews focused on the task at hand. Stay with the plan. Don't deviate from it. And that's the best way to make sure we don't miss anybody. We're hopeful that we're going to have the bulk of our members on by Sunday evening. The single phase residents, like I just mentioned, could be into Monday, early Tuesday as we work our way out into some of those areas. The last thing I wanted to say, Scott covered a lot, same sort of stuff with electric utilities. A lot of it is very similar, so I don't need to repeat a lot of that. But one of the things that could help Inland Power a lot is a lot of people don't talk about it maybe in a media setting like this, is what we call cold load pickup. We're having a problem right now where when we energize lines, all those utilities, all of your appliances, your refrigerators, all of your heaters were all turned on when the power went off. And a lot of those appliances and things cool down or whatever they do. And then when we go to energize the line, we're trying to pick all that load up at one time. And because of the temperature and because a lot of those thermostats that are still up, furnaces that are still turned on, we end up blowing fuses. And so it takes a lot longer for us to go back. We have to go almost from fuse to fuse to fuse and pick it up. In fact, we go down the road and we'll disconnect transformers just so that we can pick up the main line. And then we go back and pick those transformers up one by one. One of the things you can do to help is if you're out of power is you just can go down to your basement or wherever your main breaker is and you can turn that main breaker off. Then when the power comes back on, you can go and turn that breaker back on and your lights will come on. With that breaker being turned off, it helps the co-op and the other utilities be able to pick up that load a lot quicker. And as the temperatures drop, and it's just amazing how many people don't realize they have all that stuff that has to come on at one time. So again, thank you to our members. Thank you for the opportunity to share. And I will now pass it on to the next in line. Okay.
Hi, I'm Rick DeBro. I'm the interim chief of police. And the first thing I'd like to open by saying is I'm going to be speaking to you as the chief, making some recommendations and some reminders, but also as a community member, because I wasn't exempt from the impact of this weather event, just like everyone else. I'm without power and have the challenges, and it's a good reminder about what we need to do to adjust our behavior, because we're now several days into this event. And it's always good to be reminded about steps that we can take towards our personal safety so we don't make a bad event worse. One thing that we've heard of, and I've spoken to Bobby Williams, who is the fire chief, about just the common sense things of when the power is out, having candles lit and alternative heat sources, which cause a carbon monoxide hazard. We don't want to respond to those situations where they become a tragedy because somebody's trying to stay warm. So folks just need to be aware of that. And also, we've seen that with the darkness and the lack of electricity, some security measures that people may have had in place when there is power and not these challenges no longer work. So we talk about community helping community. The genesis of Block Watch and programs like that were people realized that you need your neighbors to kind of police the area. So I would remind people that the best preventive measure is just working together as neighbors, knowing what activity is appropriate and what isn't, and just kind of look out for one another. And because we can't talk about lighting, we can talk about making sure that you're not leaving things like chainsaws and generators and things that could be carted off from people that unfortunately take this time of crisis as an opportunity for personal gain. So if folks just are reminded that they have to limit those opportunities, we actually had a couple of city-owned generators that were driving traffic signals in Spokane stolen. So we as a city organization realized that we also are vulnerable and have to take some protective measures. It's a good reminder to secure our garages, and if people are using chainsaws and other equipment, that that they lock it up after they're done using it, because those are of high value, particularly during an event like this. Don't leave items in your car unattended or in plain view. And like I said earlier, most of these things are very common sense based, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but it's really a good reminder, especially when people's minds are distracted, trying to think about when their power is going to come back on, and you just can't be distracted to the point of paralysis where you're not thinking clearly and it actually is impacting your safety. One other reminder, and we haven't had a tremendous problem with this, and I thank the drivers in Spokane that it hasn't been a nightmare out on the street. I think after a couple of reminders and a few days into this event, that with the signals being out, that people have to be very diligent about treating those intersections as four-way stops, and just driving very defensively. This morning on my way to work, there's an intersection where a signal was out. I came to a complete stop, but I'm glad I was paying attention, because a car approaching from my left did not. And had I pulled out, we would have had some real problems, particularly crashing into the police chief's car. And one last thing is, even when we get beyond this event, there's going to be some lasting repercussions, some cleanup issues, and traffic will be impacted for a considerable amount of time. So people just need to be patient and work with us, and we will be more than happy to help in any way. And just know that there are a lot of very talented the men and women of the Spokane Police Division that are out in the middle of the very dark nights, trying to spend time in the areas of greatest risk to try and prevent crimes of opportunity. So this is not a situation that people necessarily need to be fearful, and they have to have confidence that we are out there to protect Spokane. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bruce Holloway from Spokane County Fire District Number 3. As a community, we're very concerned about the potential for hypothermia. With this cold weather, it's really an issue that we need to be paying attention to. We have warming shelters that are preferred and strongly recommended, rather than trying to heat your house individually with makeshift measures. As a result, we may end up with carbon monoxide issues. So those that are experiencing prolonged exposure to cold, we have some signs and symptoms for hypothermia that we'd like to put out. The first thing is shivering. As you all know, when we get cold, we start to shiver. And that's the first sign. Shivering is actually a good thing. It shows that our heat mechanisms are working. So if you've been shivering and you're cold and you quit, then you got to really start to pay attention. You could end up with slow, shallow breathing, confusion and memory loss. As we get colder and colder, these things will manifest themselves. Drowsiness or exhaustion, slurred or mumbled speech. So these are all signs that the brain function is starting to deteriorate. Loss of coordination, fumbling hands, stumbling steps. Those are other signs. Slow, weak pulse. And in severe hypothermia, a person may be unconscious without obvious signs of breathing or a pulse. And interestingly enough, as you get more and more into hypothermia, you might want to take your coat off because you don't feel like you're cold anymore. So that's also a sign. Hypothermia symptoms for infants would include cold to the touch, bright red skin, and unusually low energy. So if you're manifesting any of these things, we need to be sure that you try and get someplace to get warmed up. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Megan Snow with the American Red Cross. I just really have a couple of quick reminders. People who need help, or if you know somebody who needs help, please encourage them to call 211. This is our information resource hotline. We're encouraging nonprofits or other groups who are providing service to also call into 211 to make sure that we're aware of the resources that you're providing, so we can match the need with the available resources. As we've heard today, we're also still encouraging people without power to please seek alternative shelter. Homes have really already passed the point of being too cold to occupy, and it's just going to get colder. We are working hard to create an extensive list of warming shelters, of overnight shelters, and we highly encourage the public to please seek out these resources. Stay just for a few hours, stay overnight, but these are there to help prevent any health crisis from, really to mitigate any kind of health crisis. So please call 211 for a list of those resources available. I believe the Regional Health District also has it up on their website. So srhd.org, that's a good place that you're going to find those updated. I believe we have lists available today for the media. So as much as you can do to help us put out that information where those resources are available, we appreciate your help with that. So with that.
I just want to clarify one thing. I want to make sure I get it accurate. We will have 97 crews. That includes the crews coming in from our outside areas, our own crews from the outside area. So we will have a total of 97 crews on the ground, probably by tomorrow, not 97 plus the ones from the outside. So the total number will be 97. I just wanted to be accurate.
He wanted to be accurate. That's a good thing. Okay, so what I would ask now, that concludes the session. If you have specific questions, perhaps for anyone other than Scott, I'm just guessing you may want to talk about maps and that sort of thing. We would ask now.
Chief or Mayor, you got some reports of folks who are concerned about gas prices and some of those things potentially going up. Have you heard any reports of that or have any concerns of that at this point?
We haven't heard of any gas prices going up at this time. We do have published to the city's website and also LinkedIn at volunteerspokane.org and others, the gas stations that are open. And as a quick brush over, it looks like there's several throughout the city, but not every single one of them because of power. But there seems to be quite a significant availability of gas.
So any questions for anyone else? I'm assuming, again, Scott's going to want to go through the map with some of you, and you're going to want to do that. So thank you very much for coming.
Nice to meet you. I'm Scott Morris. Thank you.